Good afternoon and welcome to the Whitley County Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center's Community Conversation. Today we have with us Darren from the United Way of Whitley and Kosciuszko County, and we're going to talk about the merger of these two organizations and what that means to Whitley County.
Terrific. Jennifer, thank you for having me over here this afternoon. We're very excited about the new partnership that has emerged between our two counties. Started it last summer out of discussions that we had about, in the time of COVID, with the challenges were happening there, how did we get stronger? How did we figure out ways to do things better? I think every business that you've worked with the chamber in the last year said, gosh, we've got to get better and we got to get better now.
Correct.
That there hasn't been a whole lot of patience. You've had to figure it out quickly. And we had partnered on a number of, we have businesses that are in both communities. We have certainly some of the same challenges in both communities. And we said, let's figure out how we do this better together. And our board started working in August and into the fall and really came together to figure out the best way to set this up. And ultimately, as of January 1st, that's a merged organization who really, and I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go on, but it's really looking at how are we doing things across the region and how, not just as two separate counties, but where are we together in a lot of this. And we really found that probably one of the big drivers was it's a really authentic community. There are a whole lot of people who live and work and play. That's a very chamber term, right? Live, work, play.
Correct.
Who really live across the region. So how do we be authentic to that? And how do we really move forward? Has been really the backdrop for this.
That's great. Definitely in this pandemic era, we have to work harder and smarter at the same time. And so it makes a lot of sense, especially with a nonprofit organization, to try to align as much as you can to make it work out. So this is really an exciting thing.
I think so. And, kind of unexpected. I think all of us, as we come up on the year since the pandemic came in, aren't where we thought we'd be a year later.
Mm-hmm.
And for some of that's been real challenging. For us, I think it's really opportunities that we're really excited about. What can we do differently together? And we'll talk about a little bit today, but I'd love the chance to come back in the next couple of months as things start to emerge, because not everything is totally ready right now to roll out and talk about, but we'll be talking about it and some of the new things that are coming.
Well, absolutely. These programs are something that we have going on all the time, and we'll continue to do that too. So
terrific.
So that'll be good.
So you have questions?
I do. I have some questions.
Delve right into them.
Will the new United Way have a brick and mortar presence in Whitley County, or will it be primarily a virtual presence now?
Well, I think most of you are familiar that we've had an office right here at Van Buren. So we're neighbors just down the street. And when we went through this, one of the learnings we've had in the last year is it matters a lot less where you're working from, working virtually, making connections. And over the last couple of years with United Way, more and more, when we're working with our corporate partners, most of the time we're going to them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing that. So we did close the office here on Van Buren Street as of the end of January in terms of doing that. At this point, there's not a sense immediately we're going to open another office. Right now, we're really looking at some of our partners about are there times when we need meeting space. Whitley County Connections, which has been a wonderful program that we're continuing, has moved virtually.
Mm-hmm.
But even when it was in person, we've moved to the library because we've outgrown our offices there. So I think one of the advantages in being a community is how do you take advantage of good space that's there? If that's at the library, if it's at one of our corporate partners,
Mm-hmm.
how do we work smarter again to having that? And then really not overvalue what an office can do these days. How do we be authentically in the community with using good space and really showing up for people?
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, we also have meeting space here that you're welcome to
I
use.
was going to be surprised that there wasn't chamber meeting space that could be a part
There
of
are. We currently have 2 conference rooms. One has seating for 6, and the other one has seating for really up to about 48. So
there's a chamber commercial for the day.
yes,
if you
there
need
you go. Open to all of our chamber members.
There we go.
And we're glad actually that the United Way is a longstanding member of our chamber.
Absolutely.
So in this change, you've incorporated some of the Whitley County board members into your Kosciuszko County board. Is that expanding your board, or is that displacing?
It's grown our board a little bit. We currently stand at 16 board members, which we had been at about 11 or 12. So it grew our board a little bit. And we really thought, rather than take a lot of months and slow down the merger talk by trying to figure out every policy or every point that you were trying to, the best strategy we thought was, let's bring in a significant number of board members from the United Way of Whitley County right onto the new merged board.
Mhm.
So we brought over 6 members, and Jennifer asked me who that was, and never list board members on live pieces, but Laura McDermott from the school, superintendent of schools, has joined us. Pete Allen from Star Bank, Don Mokler from Edward Jones, Katie DeWitt from DeWitt Marketing, who was our previous board chair here in Whitley County, Lori Shipman. Oh, and that's 5 of the 6. And Mark from superintendent here of Columbia City Parks, Mark
Okay.
Green.
Fantastic.
There we go, all 6.
Good job.
Yay. So that's 6 out of the 16. So we said, how do we bring in a really healthy representation? Columbia City Parks, Columbia City Schools, with the County Community Consolidated Schools, but of folks who really have a vested interest. How do we make sure they're at the table? And that's going to be the best way to make sure the merger moves forward authentically, is we have voices of people who care a lot about the families and the kids who are here. And they're going to really be the advocates on the board to make sure we shape this new organization the right way.
This seems like also a fantastic opportunity for networking between the board members of the previous boards and
It
kind
is.
of coming together too, so.
Well, and just had lunch with David Smith from Star Bank, and he served 2 different times on our board, and just said, hey, I'd love to really be a part of making sure when we do, and I know it's one of your questions, we do Days of Caring this year, that it goes well, because he's very invested in that. So we're really open to anybody who's had United Way experiences here in Whitley County and says, hey, we want to make sure we move ahead really together and well, come on in.
Great.
Reach out to us. We'll be more than glad to do that.
That is fantastic. So the grant process, will that be different now?
Inevitably, yeah, it's going to be different as we look across the region. I wish I could give you more details on exactly how our board members are working that. One of the interesting things that happened during the pandemic is both of our United Ways were able to be in a partnership with Lilly Endowment to do some emergency response funding from that, got a sizable grant. And we've really been over the last 6 months trying to do some of those in concert with each other and talk about how are we beginning to do things that make a lot of sense. One of the grants after we were working on this came up from Cherubusco Child Care, where they were hit hard by some of this. They had some COVID outbreaks among the teachers that really made some of the staffing difficult, and really came to us in a need for some funding that would make sure they could keep their doors open and that they would really use to help with staff retention during those days. And we sat down as one of the exercises for the merge board and said, let's look at these applications together. And I think it's really going to create a rich grant process as you have people from across the region coming in together and figuring out how that works. But the details for how this is going to work, not so much yet.
Okay.
So I think stay tuned, and as we get that, we'll really try and move forward together with that.
So this is likely to be different for even Kosciuszko County.
Oh, yeah.
agencies, too.
Yeah, and we're trying to really do all of it and say, look, this is a great moment. People seem really, I don't want to say forgiving, but flexible during this time, saying, we understand everybody's changing. Just walk us through transparently what that process is going to be. And as we figure that out and line it up for what we're doing, I can tell you one of the early commonalities that really set us on the road was a deep interest in both communities about what's the environment locally for kids. And particularly this United Way in Whitley County has done some amazing things with the schools around Kindergarten Countdown, which is a program in the summer to help kids who haven't had really any pre-K experience before that first day of school to really kind of get up to speed. One of our superintendents in Kosciuszko County calls it Kindergarten Boot Camp. That for 3 weeks they come in and they meet kindergarten teachers and they learn how school works and they practice reading and they do some early math skills and they really kind of get those kids up to speed. That's been we've done that in Kosciuszko County as well, and talk about how do we build on things like that? Where can we really grow around children? That's been a huge area of success for United Way over the years. I think that's one of the first areas you're going to see really come out from us. Is to be talking about some of the children's activities. When we'll get to it, one of the other questions that's coming up, but some of those grants, we're going to really talk about how do we focus and sharpen those to really begin to make a depth of impact and not just do a lot of things, but find some things we can really concentrate on and do well.
Are you finding maybe things that were done in Kosciuszko County that are gonna work really well here in Whitley and vice versa, or?
I think some of both things. You really see both communities have some different strengths. There are some things, Wax Skinner and Countdown, that you do really well here, that we're talking about taking there, and vice versa. We had one of our programs, Skinner and Countdown in Syracuse, ended up building in towards the last couple of days. They did a kind of a picnic with families, who was one of those last nights. So the families could hear the kind of exercises and learning games and things we've done with your kids over the last couple of weeks. And in the 2, 3, 4 weeks before school starts, if you could continue to do some of those exercises, it's really going to help them be ready. Of whether it's sometimes it's even playing a game of Uno, and as simple as that is working on colors and working on taking turns and some of those things. And we've had families go, "Oh, I didn't realize that helped." But if that helps them get ready, yeah, that interaction time, that group time can really be important. So yeah, we plan to steal liberally from each other to send where are the
Hey,
best
that's smart.
practices, right? Just like chambers do. If you
Right.
find out the chamber in Evansville has done something great, bring that idea here.
Absolutely.
We'd love to borrow those ideas back and forth, create stronger products. Yeah,
So children are important to both communities.
yeah. I really see we've been loosely working with the term Kids United over at Kosciuszko County. Talk about what are some of the things that really draw all those together. Sometimes the United Way has a number of things we're working on that we don't often put under the same umbrella or branch to say, look at all the things we're doing for kids. So it's been kind of an effort that we're going to talk about going into the next year. Let's help you understand, here's what we are doing with kids. Some of those things we do with our partners, and they're great places like the Babe store here in town. And where there are other places where United Way is beginning to work on rolling out volunteer activities in particular, where you can really have an impact on children and come into that.
Fantastic. Do you anticipate more grant dollars being available in Whitley County than maybe we've had before?
Oh, I sure hope so. I think, part of it, and anybody who's from a nonprofit or has tried to retain chamber membership in the last year knows the pandemic has not been the greatest environment for that. We've had
It's been rough on nonprofits.
it has been rough. I mean, if you talk to a nonprofit who relies on a banquet or a live auction or any of that this last year, it's been really tough. Same way for us, to a lot of your chamber members who've had us come in over the years to do United Way presentations or to come in and explain how United Way works.
That too, because you really haven't.
Suddenly they said, we're not having anybody in, and you went, oh, okay. So it's been a challenging year. But I think our board has really viewed that as kind of a natural disaster, just like if you had a terrible blizzard or a tornado that disrupted fundraising. We're really hoping when we get to the other side of that, that you're going to see our great corporate partners for years rebound. And then you're going to see we've learned a lot. We're doing a lot of stuff. I'm sure you weren't doing Facebook Lives a year ago.
Right.
We've learned a lot of things to do better. And I think we're going to be better positioned as we go into campaigning. So I think ultimately, if you're asking me this fall, I don't know. But if you're saying 2 or 3 years out when this merger really starts to bear fruit, and I think those who've been through corporate mergers know your reason for doing that often doesn't appear in the first 6 months of the year. It's really 2 or 3 years down the road where you've really built new systems, where you really are understanding what your role is, that really starts to produce. So I think ultimately, I'd sure hope so.
Well, that's exciting news for Whitley County, for sure. You kind of touched on it a little bit before, but can we expect that Day of Caring is going to happen this year, and Power of the Purse, and some of the events that really United Way has been known for here in Whitley
Sure.
County?
I think I'll take them in that order. Days of Caring, absolutely. I think it lends itself. We didn't do one in Whitley County last year. We did do one in Kosciuszko County, and one of the things we learned there last year was we moved all the projects outside. So everything we were working on was painting the outside of buildings or landscaping or things that could be moved outside, because one, that's a lot better for ventilation, it's better for everybody health-wise. And then 2, we shrunk the average team size. So instead of sending 20 people to a site, we sent 5 people over here and 6 people over there, and then kept the work groups smaller, so that it was just safer. So we learned a lot from doing that. It's hard to predict where we'll be by the end of the summer. So we're going to take some of those learnings and really bring them over here and say, yeah, we're committed to doing it. But the first rule of everything when we're working people is how do we do it safely, and how do we do it in a way that really makes people comfortable when they're volunteering. But there is a rich history of Days of Caring here. Again, David Smith was educating me over lunch about how well that has gone. We'd really see that not only moving forward, but are really talking about some new ideas for how do we strengthen that and do new things that are part of it. So that's probably going to be towards the end of August.
Okay,
So as soon as we lock in the date with that, COVID willing, that we will be happy to share that with you and with all your folks.
okay,
How
fantastic.
to do that. Power of the Purse is different because if you've been part of the Power of the Purse, the one thing I heard very clearly, and I think you and I talked
Lots
about
of
it,
people.
lots of people in a very specific space, which is not the best environment right now. So we're trying to figure out how to do that safely. We hope to do it this fall. I think it's more likely you may see us have to push into the first quarter of next year, just because we want to make sure amidst the merger that we're really doing that right and that we're really doing that safely.
That makes a lot of
And
sense.
And one thing I'm very clear on is the women in this community are very passionate about the event. So we make this pledge that we'll really try and make sure we get that right. So if you could be a little flexible about the actual date and time we're doing it, that'd be great. But yeah, we really understand that in the last 4 years, that's really grown to be a great event. So
Definitely. I would say whether you helped plan the event or you were an attendee, people are very enthusiastic about that event and really excited when they get to take home a purse that they wanted. So
yes, this has been a lot of learning for me, although I do have two grown daughters who are 20 and 22. They've been educating me about the world of high-end purses. This is not an area of a lot of experience in. So really looking at how do we do that. So I think if everybody can be patient with us, we're going to figure it out and figure out the best way to do that. But we really want to do it well.
great. Well, good to hear that that's going to continue. What are some ways that local members or local, just even residents in the community can get involved in United Way?
Well, one, I would tell you all of our nonprofits are saying the same things. It's volunteering is hard right now. It's still COVID safe. So that's kind of his backdrop to that answer. Two pieces that will be really coming out in the next couple of weeks. One, we've had a program that's been really successful for us in Kosciuszko County called Read United, and where we match individuals from the community with local classrooms. And they go into a classroom and they read for about 4 weeks. And United Way gives them a book. We give them some training with a prompt card that says, talk about these things, and here are words to point out. So we don't just let you loose in the classroom. We give you some support so that you can be connected with that. And it's been a great program. Last summer, we moved that all digitally. So we're matching people via Zoom or Google Class, whatever the teacher prefers. We'll match up, and then folks can get connected with the classroom. Because I know if you don't have kids in your life, like my kids are grown, you haven't seen or been around little kids much this last year. And this is a great way to come and doing that. We're working on finalizing that here with Laura McDermott, getting that all squared away. So the next couple of weeks, you're going to see that really is a push from us. If people want to volunteer, that's going to be a great way to do that. We're going to need about, I think, 30 to 40 volunteers here in Columbia City to be a part of that this year.
Okay.
So that'll be easy, and you can do that. I know one of your questions was you can go right to our website. We're still working on the transition because we just got the whole legal approval for the name. So if you can go to, if you Google United Way of Kosciuszko or Whitley, that will send you to our website. Either way, you'll get into that, and then you'll start to see all of that information become available for Read United would be our next big piece that launches just after spring break within the schools and runs. And we target it towards your K-1-2 because the littles oftentimes have their schedule disrupted because of standardized testing. So as some of your 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders are going into testing and they get disrupted and they don't have music or gym today, we have guest readers come in to be kind of an extra fun thing for them during that testing time. So that'll be rolling out here just in the next week or two.
So I have a question that wasn't on my list here, but I'm curious about it.
Surprise question.
So if somebody was working in Whitley or Kosciuszko County and in the past had contributed to United Way as one of their giving choices, do they need to go back to HR and make any kind of change?
Nope.
Or
Nope, won't have to make any changes. If you work at SDI or Star Bank or any of that. That's all backroom stuff we're handling with your HR, so
Okay.
none of that will have to change for you,
And then if you wanted to become a new donor,
right?
what do you recommend?
Become a new donor, again, you can get real easily through our website, or you can go and talk with HR. They have all the ability to add you during the year.
Okay.
If you are a new hire or just saw something and say, hey, I'd really like to do something, you can do that through your human resource department. Or if you're not affiliated, go to our website or just give us a call.
Okay.
We'd be glad to talk with anybody about how to do that.
That's fantastic. So going forward, how would you prefer people to reach out to the United Way? What's a great way to find more information about what you're doing? Or-
Again, right to our website, I will tell you, we are rebranding and retaking off a bunch of our social media pieces, trying to merge some of that, which is
Okay.
lots of fun. If you haven't tried to merge different social media, it's really a good time. But you'll see that over the next couple weeks getting ironed out. So Facebook is going to be a very easy point for people. This one, search United Way of Kosciuszko County. Eventually, that's going to change to be inclusive of both. And then we have all the other social media pieces as well, Twitter and Instagram. But Facebook is probably the lead one where you're going to get the most consistent information. Where I'd say start there, go to our website or call. We love to have conversations with people who say, hey, I saw you on the Chambers piece. How do we get started? Where can we volunteer? Where can we get connected? I'd love to come back. One of the things that we're building on with Power of the Purse and we've done in Kosciuszko County is really growing our women's philanthropy initiatives under our Women United piece that we think Power of the Purse will slot in real nicely for a series of events we're having later this spring and in the fall of really talking about if you're interested in women's philanthropy and talk about how do we really get engaged in some ways that are meaningful, we're going to have lots of opportunities for that in the next year because we're seeing there are more women who own businesses, more women who are taking real charge of the charitable giving for their business or their home and really looking for where are the new opportunities, where are the ones that speak to the things that are important to them. That's what I'd love to come back and really
That would be
have a
fantastic.
deeper discussion on.
That would be fantastic. We'll plan on that then.
So, great.
All right. At this point, do any of our listeners have any questions that they would like to ask?
Ryan is shaking. We've answered everything so well
I think we
on
have.
a Thursday afternoon. I think while we wait to see if anybody does have questions, one of the things I would just really say is if you can be a little patient with us, we're really committed to rolling out some really exciting stuff over the next few months. And I think early on, we've seen some great strengths that are combining, some things that are coming, and it's just, we're planting seeds.
Mhm.
And it's going to take a little time for those to sprout. Anybody who's getting ready for spring and think about all the things you want to put in your garden, you can work real hard at the beginning of April, but sometimes it's going to take till July or August before you get those fresh Indiana tomatoes are going to take a minute. If you've ever planted tomato plants around here, it takes a minute for those to come around. Is just keep walking with us and know that your board really was amazing and talk about in good faith, how do we do better for the community? And that's really been our goal. And that's why Chambers are such great partners. Our interests so often align and saying, how do we make this a great place for families, for kids, that you're proud to talk about how we handle things here? How do we make sure everybody has the chance to grow up great? How do we make sure families are strong? Those are very common goals for Chambers and United Way. And if people can just commit to walking with us for the next year, you're going to see some things that are going to be really fun and really cool.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I don't think we have any more questions.
No questions.
Today, so.
Okay.
All right.
Terrific.
Well,
Thank
It
you.
was great talking to you, and we'll look forward to hearing more about the merger of these two organizations.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.